This first food is so vital that anybody with any type of thyroid problem needs to start eating it immediately. And let me explain why. In your thyroid gland is where your thyroid makes your T4. That's your thyroid hormone. Now, the byproduct of making thyroid hormone are what are called peroxidases, like hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide and other peroxides, they are very inflammatory to the thyroid tissue and they can lead to thyroid damage. Much like when your car burns gasoline, a toxic exhaust comes out the tailpipe. Well, if you sat in your garage with your car running, just breathing in toxic fumes from your tailpipe emissions, you would get sick and die. The same thing happens with your thyroid gland. There's an enzyme called glutathione peroxidase, and your thyroid uses glutathione peroxidase to remove those harmful peroxides like hydrogen peroxides so they don't damage and inflame the thyroid tissue and they don't make conditions like Hashimoto's or Graves' disease worse. Now, in order for your thyroid to get rid of these inflammatory peroxides, you need this enzyme glutathione peroxidase. And for glutathione peroxidase to work properly in the thyroid gland, you have to have selenium. That's why no matter what your thyroid problem is, if you have primary hypothyroidism without autoimmune involvement, if you have Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, if you have Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism, any thyroid condition, even if you've had your thyroid partially removed, you need selenium. Well, the best place is absolutely a Brazil nut. Just 2 Brazil nuts a day will give you all the selenium you need. You can toss them in a blender and have them with your favorite smoothie. You could just eat them first thing in the morning. You can treat them like a multivitamin or a vitamin that is essential to your body. Now, I like Brazil nuts much more than I like selenium as a supplement. And the reason why is in the Brazil nut, we have the whole food. We have all the other nutrients that selenium needs in your body so it can function better. So the Brazil nut is certainly senior. So if you don't like Brazil nuts, no problem. You can go with a 3-ounce piece of cod. A 3-ounce piece of codfish contains about 25 micrograms of Brazil nuts. Now, and for anybody with any type of thyroid problem, you really want to strive for about 200 micrograms of selenium per day from food sources optimally. Cod is a good one. Other great sources of selenium. A 3-ounce serving of sardines has about 45 micrograms. I know they're not super palatable. I just force them down. They're so great for you. Incredible EPA to DHA fatty acid ratio. They have quality calcium in there, magnesium, B vitamins. They're really a very great food to consume and also a good source of selenium for the thyroid. A 3-ounce serving of turkey has about 31 micrograms of selenium. So 1 egg has about 15 micrograms of selenium. Now, that's in the egg yolk. So if you're thinking like, oh, I'll have an egg white omelet, you're not going to be getting any selenium or not much. So you want to make sure you're having the yolk. And then a serving of sunflower seeds has about 19 micrograms of selenium. So, but my favorite, of course, is the Brazil nut. Now, the other key foods that you have to have if you have any type of thyroid condition are as follows. Well, we know we need iodine. Iodine is super important because your thyroid hormone is made from iodine. T4 has 4 atoms of iodine and T3 has 3 atoms of iodine. T3, interestingly enough, has less iodine in it, but it is the much more active form of thyroid hormone. So great sources of iodine to consume. 1, seaweed. Your 3 major ones, wakame, dulse, nori, also kelp. So really 4 major ones. Those are great sources of iodine. Cod, 1 3-ounce serving of cod has 99 micrograms of iodine, which is phenomenal. Plus, again, it has about 25 micrograms of selenium. So cod is really a thyroid food. I actually just had cod a few hours ago, or not even, probably about an hour ago. So cod is really excellent for the thyroid. And 1 egg will have about 25 micrograms of iodine. So again, an egg can be a really good form of protein, nutrients, iodine, and selenium for thyroid cases. You just have to make sure you're not sensitive to that because some thyroid cases are sensitive to eggs and they have an autoimmune reaction to eggs. So it will actually inflame their thyroid condition, kind of aggravating their thyroid situation. So you have to know if you can have eggs. If you can have eggs, they are brilliant for your body, right? Eggs are loaded with B vitamins, with choline for your brain, with B12 for mitochondrial and energy function. They have, especially and only if they're pasture raised organic, they have a great omega acid profile. They're good sources of EPA and DHA, which are essential fatty acids that help to blunt the inflammatory processes in the body. Eggs are packed with complete protein, very bioavailable. And remember, your thyroid gland needs protein to make thyroid hormone, because thyroid hormone is essentially made from iodine and protein. And the amino acid specifically in protein is tyrosine. And a great source of tyrosine is eggs. Other great sources of tyrosine are beans, hemp seeds, and most legumes. So you have to have tyrosine, you have to have iodine to manufacture thyroid hormone. That's absolutely essential. So the next food that I'm going to talk about helps your thyroid peroxidase enzyme. So what's thyroid peroxidase do? Well, thyroid peroxidase is the enzyme in the thyroid that takes the iodine and the L-tyrosine, that amino acid from protein, and smushes them together and helps make your thyroid hormone. Thyroid peroxidase enzyme, also known as TPO, is an iron-dependent enzyme, so you have to have iron. Plant sources of iron are okay, but the more bioavailable sources for thyroid cases are going to be heme iron, which are found typically in meats and animal sources. And one of the best places, I know this is going to be controversial for a lot of people, is organ meats. As a matter of fact, organic, grass-fed, New Zealand red meat, whether it's cow, elk, or some other form of red meat, is incredible for its iron content, particularly the heme iron that can really help that thyroid peroxidase enzyme function properly in the thyroid gland. In addition to that, in that liver is B12, which is needed for mitochondrial function. Remember, your thyroid hormone controls the size and number of mitochondria. It plays a huge role in that. And the mitochondria are what takes your energy, or rather what takes your nutrients from your food, your carbohydrates, and converts them into energy. So mitochondria are the energy production centers in our cells, and they need B12 to operate properly. And grass-fed, organic, red meat, particularly liver, is an incredible source of B12. It's not very palatable, I'll be honest, but you only have to have it about twice a week. In addition to that, there's vitamin A. Vitamin A is needed for healthy TSH function. Remember, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, is made in the pituitary gland, and thyroid stimulating hormone is the hormone that leaves the pituitary gland and tells your thyroid to make thyroid hormone. If your pituitary gland doesn't have enough vitamin A, it can't do its job. And we're not talking about beta carotene or plant-based vitamin A. Plant-based vitamin A, like beta carotene, has to go through the conversion process, typically in the liver. For some people whose liver is not working right or working well, they can have difficulty in converting that beta carotene into active forms of vitamin A, which is why the retinol, the animal-based form, is going to be typically better for thyroid cases. And again, vitamin A deficiency is actually on the rise. So having a great source of vitamin A from liver is really, really cool. In addition to that, liver is a great source of CoQ10, which helps the heart function, which helps your mitochondria, again, function. The thyroid and the mitochondria, they work hand in hand. It's like your thyroid makes thyroid hormone. That thyroid hormone goes to your cell and tells your cell, the mitochondria in your cell, to make energy. So it's like you need both working right. So you got to feed the thyroid, but you also have to feed the mitochondria. And again, grass-fed organic liver is a great way to do that. And it's also a great source of zinc and selenium. And selenium, again, is needed to get rid of all those bad peroxidases by helping glutathione peroxidase work properly in the thyroid to get rid of those harmful inflammatory byproducts of normal thyroid metabolism. The last amazing food for thyroid cases that a lot of people don't eat is simply fatty fish. Now, I'm not talking about sardines, which are great. We're talking about wild-caught, sustainably caught sockeye salmon. Sockeye salmon is one of the best fatty fishes for the thyroid. And the EPA and DHA that is in salmon is amazing, right? The EPA and DHA are those anti-inflammatory essential fatty acids that you can't really get in plant source the way you would get in animal source. These are ready to go, meaning EPA and DHA are essential fatty acids that blunt the inflammatory pathways that aggravate conditions like Hashimoto's disease and primary hypothyroidism. So salmon is like a game changer. It's also an amazing source of tyrosine, which you need to manufacture your thyroid hormone. So salmon is my last beneficial food. So try these out. Try incorporating these foods. So if I had to paint like the perfect diet for the thyroid case, certainly in that diet would be 2 Brazil nuts per day. It would be 1 to 2 servings of grass-fed organic liver every single week. It would be 2 to 4 servings of salmon every single week. It would be about 2 servings of sardines a week and 2 servings of cod. And if I could treat myself to some little seaweed snacks, I would. Now, of course, if you have Hashimoto's, you don't want to have too much iodine in your body because that can actually excite the thyroid cells and make the Hashimoto's worse. Same thing with Graves' disease. With Graves' disease, you do have to avoid iodine. Iodine for you is like the plague until you heal the thyroid. Once your thyroid is healed and you no longer have Graves' disease anymore, then typically you could eat iodine and you're fine. However, when you have active Graves' disease, or if that's a condition you're dealing with, when you add iodine, you are adding fuel to your fire. So you do have to be careful about that. But foods that are rich in selenium, like Brazil nuts, oh, those are good. Those are your fave. So have your Brazil nuts if you are a Graves case. Also look at foods that are high in inositol or myo-inositol, like cantaloupe, for example, is a great source of that. These are all foods that are great for Graves cases. So I hope that helped, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.